Good evening. Welcome to LFC Transfer Room. And Liverpool are out of the Europa League after a fantastic start at the beginning through Mohamed Salah. And from the spot, Liverpool dwindled their chances away of Europa League success this season and are putting a miserable end to the Jurgen Klopp era. What an absolute embarrassment after the penalty. The first 10-15 minutes came out the blocks, thought, this is Liverpool. This is the European night. This is what we do. But since then, it seemed to dwindle away. It seemed to peter out, and it was borderline embarrassing. If I'm quite honest, it was borderline embarrassing from last week to this week, which doesn't deserve a single ounce of going through. We didn't even deserve. If this was a league game, we didn't even deserve a point. We got absolutely battered last week, and this week again, tactically outplayed, ran out of ideas. Midfield give up. Strikers just everywhere. Forwards just everywhere. It's just what an absolute sad way to end this season. It seems. Also, the league is still up there to be done, but Stu, give me an initial reaction to that because I'm absolutely done after tonight.
You and me both. I'm fuming. It's not just tonight, but the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 weeks. Obviously, when Klopp announced, it was a big shock to everybody. We get that. And the players obviously understand that. But their main mantra was, okay, we're going to get behind Klopp and we're going to win these matches. Now, I understand football's football, sport is sport at the end of the day, and it can't always happen that way. But the manner that it is happening is utterly disgraceful to the memory that Klopp has, or the spirit that Klopp has instilled back into the club. The players are letting him down. Make no bones about it. There are players out there that I would have hooked off at half time. But even within the first 10 minutes of the second half of tonight's game, after we got that first goal, it should have been all guns blazing, going straight for it. As a little side note to that, credit where it's due, Atalanta tactically had our number. 100%. We couldn't figure it out. Is that down to the management or the players? That's up for debate. But at the end of the day, the players know what they need to do. And they didn't do it. And they haven't been doing it for the last, I'd say, 3 weeks or so. If you just look at the results and the way we've been playing, they look absolutely done in. And I don't know whether it's a lack of energy, a lack of desire, a lack of something there that they just don't want to do it. But at the moment, they are not backing up what they said a few months ago. And that is going out in a blaze of glory for the manager, with it being his last season. And they are letting themselves down, they're letting the manager down, they are letting the fans down at the end of the day. And it is incredibly disappointing. I can understand it if it was an end-to-end game and it was just one of those big results. But as I say, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, everybody's seen it. The gameplay just has not been there. And I think it is very, very disappointing and upsetting for Klopp to be going out like this. Fingers crossed we can turn it around for the last 6 games of the league. But at the moment, I don't have complete confidence in that.
I think we've been playing with fire for a good couple of months now. We've been getting so close to the fire, putting his hand in, and we've been getting burnt a little bit. But now we just took it straight into the fire because the Man United game alone was pathetic. But then we're going to the one against Palace at the weekend and the Atalanta one last week. It just seems like you just said, they're giving up. And why everything that Klopp has built here, everything that this club is about not giving up. It's about going out there and give it your best effort. And, whatever happens after that happens. We've against all odds, we came against Barcelona 3-0 down. We beat them 4-0, and against every single bit of odds there, we had more chance of winning tonight than we did that night.
I don't know. I think our mentality was different in that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And this is the problem we have right now with this team. Is that mentality thing. They've had it all season. They've had actually good mentality for most of the season. I think mentality's actually got us through this season. But it seems to be recently that mentality's just completely gone, and starting games off are pathetic. Today, we actually started the game off well. which
Yeah.
was the complete opposite of what's been happening.
Mm.
Clem, was it just down to sheer effort tonight, or was it tactically as well? Or was it a mixture of both?
Yeah, I mean, as Stu said, you got to give credit, but they should have adjusted from the earlier leg, in terms of how Atalanta played. I didn't think we did that. We got the goal; it was deserved early, but we didn't go on with it, and we didn't create enough chances to deserve to win the game. That's the thing. And then, as they do, they drag you down towards the end. They make it an arm wrestle, and we just weren't smart enough. I think in this game as well, but the effort should have been better. The midfield, look, the passes, there's so many lazy balls as well. And up front, we lacked the teeth, to really threaten, and Klopp made subs, but I thought he could have brought some of those attackers on a bit earlier. I don't know. What do you guys think about the subs?
They weren't strange because they needs to happen. But like you said, we had to go win 2-3-4 tonight. And we didn't, I don't think he went for it the way we wanted him to go for it. Again, I've been asking for Jayden Downs to get more minutes because it seems to be the most clinical player we've got, bar Jota. So even bringing him on, we're like, 10 minutes left, I think he came on. Too late. You're not even going for that. And that's on Klopp as well, because we're saying, we've let Klopp down, let this down, and we're letting Klopp's farewell tour down, but Klopp has a lot to answer for himself as well. He shouldn't be doing what he's doing. It feels like he's giving up as well. And it's peter out into field where the players are feeling it as well that they're giving up. Reece, why are they giving up though?
I don't think they can handle the pressure. That's what it looks like as well. But I think the wheels have been kind of coming off since the first United game in the FA Cup, because it created a bit of doubt. Should have really put that game away, and then they found a way to lose. And they should have tried to move on from it, and then they played the same thing happened against United again. And then when you're kind of some games you're kind of meant to, you're upset that you lost, but you got to try and regroup, try and move on and focus on the next game. They look like they're still thinking about a previous game when they got to focus on that game, and it's too much.
They're not learning, are they? It doesn't seem like they're learning from the previous the teams.
No, they're not, but I think Klopp got the lineup wrong as well. For me, like I said, I know Salah scored the penalty, but I wouldn't have started him today because he don't look like he's confident. Like do you see that chance, the chip?
Yeah.
You know, watch it. If he's confident, he scores that. But there's a few players I wouldn't have started. I would have started Diaz. I would have started Gakpo on the left. I would have started Jota, even though, he looks rusty. He don't look like he's fit. I always look at it as if someone's available on the bench, that means they can start. Otherwise, what's the point of even having them on the bench? But I think the lineup was a bit wrong, and then we've been doing the same thing that we've been doing where we keep missing chances. We should have been at least 2-0 up at half time, really. And then second half, we didn't really have a proper go. It was more passing it around the back slowly. There was no urgency. Yeah, it just looked like they didn't want it, or they kind of given up, which is not acceptable.
It's not acceptable, and
that we expect at Liverpool. Yeah.
They deserve everything that's like the criticism we're going to give them, and whatever criticism other fans give them as well. And I don't want to hear this. Don't criticise them, get behind the team. They deserve criticism right now.
Yeah, of course.
So that form last week, they deserve exactly what they're getting right now, and it's simply not good enough. What do you expect someone who's putting a Liverpool shirt on? People have ability. People don't have ability. People are not as good as other players. But the first thing you expect is fucking effort.
Yeah, and heart.
No matter what sport you play, effort is the first thing you play for this club, especially Liverpool Football Club. And when you hear the term giving it everything out on the field and you've left everything on the field, that has not been the case tonight or last week. And that is what has let us down more than the ability in the shots. Forget the misplaced passes. Forget the poor shots. It's the fucking effort that comes first. And if you don't give us that, then what are you doing on the pitch? Get off the pitch. Clem, will that effort come back, do you think?
Well, I'm not so confident because, they've had so many chances to right wrongs, going back from the United game, in the FA Cup, the result earlier than that, Palace, the first leg to this one. I mean, it just doesn't seem like they're trying anything different. As you know, Reece said, I agree. You know, I would have loved to see Jota start. I think Diaz. You know, I'm glad Gakpo got an opportunity, but yes, for me, Salah has just been so underwhelming this last month. I don't know if it's been the injury or Ramadan or just whatever it is. We're not seeing Mo Salah, and you said effort, Damon. In terms of the pressing isn't there as well. We look like the side lower down on a table tonight, or in both legs, and that's inexcusable. I could have lost to this team based on flukish goal or skills, but effort wasn't there. And I think, look, there's 6 games left in the season now, and if we don't see it, then I think the changes in the management will be welcome.
One thing I do want to touch on is individual performances as well as team performance, like the Mohamed Salah, Curtis Jones when he gets a chance is not taking it at all. Gakpo, I think Gakpo I'm going to lay off a little bit tonight because last 2 games he's been the one standout in the patheticness that everyone else has put out, and he's not really getting a full run of games at Gakpo, and he's playing again. I don't think he's a centre forward, he's more of a left winger.
I felt sorry for him because you see towards the end it looked like he was at left back or wing back.
He was,
It's like, what's going on there? He's meant to be an attacker and Klopp's got him at wing back. I was like, this didn't make any sense.
I agree with Random and embarrassing performance. What's happened to us? It was embarrassing. And if people don't like to hear that, come off this channel because you're going to hear the straight up what we think about this situation. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We was embarrassing tonight. We was embarrassing last week, and right now we are embarrassing in terms of ending the season where we are because we're going to end up with just the Carabao Cup, and it's a cup, and people will say, "Oh well, don't diminish it." But we should have been winning the Europa League. We should have been at least top of the league right now after the Palace game, and we're not. And at the end of the day, we're coming into the end of the season, and we're staring down the barrel of, and just one more cup for Klopp's legacy. And when Jurgen Klopp goes, and when you have these chats with rivals fans, and they say, "Oh, Jurgen Klopp's not the same level as Jurgen Klopp's not the same level as Pep," blah, blah, blah. They have every right to say that because of the legacy we're leaving him. And a lot of it, he can be blamed for certain things and certain situations, but fucking letting him down right now. And he's coming away with this with literally not enough trophies for his legacy to be held up against these other managers that he deserves to be, because he's just as good as them in terms of how good he actually is. What next, Stu? Because I'm looking into the weekend again, and I'm not confident at all.
Fulham away.
It's a tough game.
Yeah,
it really is a tough game.
For me, I think the one major mistake that Klopp has made is, and I'll quite happily say this, is taking Elliott out of the side. Obviously, we had our injuries, and Elliott had played a lot of minutes in the central and midfield, and obviously out on the right-hand side covering for Salah. But he was by far and away our most creative player. He's got a wonderful left foot, and he was quite happily pinging the passes around, assists, goals, not just for club, but for country as well. He was in prime form. And then he takes him straight out of the side and brings back Jones and Szoboszlai, who are both coming back from injury, who are both very rusty. And frankly, Zobo in the first half of the season, brilliant. Really settled in quickly. Second half of the season, shite. Jones, again, this evening, that run that he made, and I think it was in the second half, in the centre of midfield, and he done not a long bursting run, but turned and started running at the Atalanta guys, but then just ran off into an alleyway, didn't pass it, didn't even bother looking. I don't understand what his role is in the squad at the moment. I don't see where his best position is. But as I say, I think the main mistake that has been made by Klopp tactically is taking Elliott out the side. He's been by far our most creative outlet whilst those injuries are going on. And I'm a big believer in do not take your informed players out of a side. And I think that has showed. And I'd say I'm worried about Fulham at the weekend because Fulham are starting to pick up a little bit of form. They've had some really good results recently over the last 5 or 6 games at least. The
About McAllister, the way our midfield's playing, Stu, we could be outrunning that midfield.
Yeah, exactly. And they got a striker who's actually scoring goals, whereas we haven't at the moment. So, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about the weekend. And if we do lose there, that's it. Title gone. Season done. Because I can't see City and Arsenal dropping too many more points before the end of the season.
I can see Arsenal because they're in the similar position to us, but City, no.
Yeah.
We're stood here, right? Yeah. We're stood here, and at the beginning of the season, we're happy that we've finally got the midfield rebuild. It took enough years to finally get some midfielders in, but we were stood here surprised. People surprised by the sudden drop off the midfield. This is what happens when we relied on one summer to bring a whole midfield in. This is why you got to gradually bring transfers in. This is why you got to gradually move people out. And I think if we didn't burn Fabinho out last season and the season before that, I think Fabinho will still be here now as at least a squad player. But because we've burnt him out so much, he drop off like that. His drop off were like that. And we're looking at ourselves and we're blaming our City cheats, City have done this, City have done that, or blame the referees. We need to start looking in the mirror here, guys, because we took 5 years and we brought one midfielder in Thiago. Right, we allowed us a midfield to crumble. We went into a season with 3 centre-backs, 2 injury prone. And then we cried about injuries that season. But we literally went into a season with 3 centre-backs, 2 of them injury prone, and cried that we got injuries to that centre-back pairing. And the problem is with Liverpool, right? We do not look at ourselves enough. And this is what we just seem to blame everyone else in terms of blame the referees. Yes, the referees are fucking shit. The referees are shit, and City do seem to be like cheats. And I'll call out the referees. I'm sick of this referees thing as well. Only people call it out when it goes for them or against them. But we need to start looking at ourselves. City cheating didn't make Salah miss a 1-on-1 tonight. City cheating didn't make Nunez miss about 100 million chances against fucking Luton. You know what I'm saying? Start looking in the mirror first, and Liverpool need to fucking wake the fuck up quickly before the weekend. Because, like Stu just said, if we lose or draw on the weekend, the season could be just done. And what a stupid, idiotic way to end the season. And to end Jurgen Klopp era, by the way. Because this is not just the end of the season, this is the end of the era. And whatever manager comes in, whether it be Amorim or anyone else, they'll be looking at that squad and thinking, are you actually good as what people make you out to be? So that's another thing this fan base does. And they put people on pedestals. And that's the fan base that does it as well. I've spoken to Cecil from AFTV and I've said to him, look, the reason why Saka sometimes gets so much criticism is because you put him on this pedestal, like comparing him to Salah. So the drop-off's going to be bigger. But we do the same fucking thing in our fan base. We say Nunez is the best striker in the world. He's better than Harry Kane. No, he's fucking not.
No.
And then this is why the criticism back at him is going to be harder because the way you're putting him up that hope, it's got to be matched with the criticism. So don't be surprised when these sort of results happen because our team is not as good as what we think it is. It's still good enough to challenge for title because that's exactly what we're doing. But things do need changing. And it isn't all roses. And I'm sick of this all roses thing. Oh, that's it. You can't be negative. You can be. If Shankly be fucking turning his grave. You know what I'm saying? He was like proper brutal. And the way Fergie was, he was brutal. So if you weren't good enough, you're out of the door. Pep does it now. Pep does it right now. He said, he spoke to Ferdinand, didn't he, in that interview, and he said, look, how do you keep winning titles? Because you keep rotating the team. You got to
keep it fresh. You got to
keep it fresh.
Sharp.
And this is what we have to do. Now we're finding the hard way out now, where all the midfield's crumbling now, and everyone looks knackered because we've done it all in one transfer window, and it doesn't work like that. Let's talk Salah, Reece, because this guy is one of the greatest Liverpool players of all time. Let's get that out there straight away. He's up there for me alongside Steven Gerrard from who I've seen in terms of greatness. But is it time to let him go?
Yes. I still think he's a good player, but even if we kept him, he's not going to be happy being a squad player because he's never been a squad player. He's always been one of the first names on the team sheet. But and I also think if we were to renew his contract, he's gonna want more money. And for me, it's just, you're not gonna get more. You'll be lucky if it stays the same. It'll probably go down a bit, knowing Edwards and that if they were to. But knowing with Edwards and that, I think they will cash in on him. I think obviously he's been a great servant to the club and a great player. It would have been nice if we, like I said, not only for Klopp, but even before this team, when we had the Fabinhos, the Manes, the Firminos, that we had won a few more things because we were playing at such a high level. But yeah, I think the team kind of need to move on as well. They need to go, because other people need to start stepping up as well.
Yeah.
If you look at how we play a lot of the time, everything goes through Salah. Even players, it's like a lot of the time, a couple of our chances again today, when someone else could have took it themselves, it's like it's programmed, give it to Salah, or play one more and give it to Salah.
A bit like Tottenham was with Kane, weren't they? I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then people thought with Tottenham that, oh no, they can't, you won't be good without Kane, but Kane's a good player, obviously, of course, but you're going to get other good players in the same as Liverpool. It won't be Liverpool's last good player. So for me, yeah, I would cash in on Salah this summer.
Clem, Stu, do you agree? We cash in on Salah now, or?
Yeah, well, like I got family that have told me in the summer that Liverpool should have sold, Salah in the summer. It's better to sell a player a year early than a year too late. But fortunately, the money should still be there. But all champions and all runs come to an end, and I think you have to see that, and that's what I'm excited about with Edwards and and hopefully Amorim or whoever the new manager is, if they have a new vision and just someone who's a bit more ruthless, and it's hard as fans, because you appreciate what that player has done for you, but it's also the best interests of the team have to be there, and I think you don't want it to just pop up like we're seeing this season where it's a huge drop off, because then the fans turn on the player and then it's just the player gets frustrated and all of that. So I think it's come to the time now.
Stu, I'm going to ask you a question here. Let's see what you think about this.
What?
Whoever comes in, whether it be Amorim or De Zerbi or anyone like that, can they be allowed to be ruthless under FSG?
No.
Well, that's the problem we have then, isn't it? Because when the champions are champions and the continuous champions are ruthless with their players, and they're not good enough, you get rid of them.
When you look back at when we won the league title, what was it, 3 seasons ago now? Yeah, 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Did we get the financial backing then to refresh the squad and challenge back on it again? No, we didn't. They actually waited on another 2 years before we got the refresh last summer for this season, and it's going to hit us again. Unless with Michael Edwards coming back in, along with the new team with Richard Hughes and everybody else that seems to be coming in, more specifically from Bournemouth, which is a little bit weird. Unless they change their whole squad and transfer strategy with him coming in now, and FSG actually look at it and go, okay, we need to follow like sort of the Man City route of refreshing the squad every couple of seasons with this new manager coming in, then at the moment as things stand, no, I can't see it happening. Will Salah go this summer? Maybe. Do I want to see him go? Really? I don't know. I would be sad to see him go. I can understand if he wants to go, because at the end of the day, everybody knows in the footballing world, it's no big secret, the Saudis see him as their crown jewel. He is the biggest Muslim player in the world, going over to one of the biggest regions in the world for that religion. Of course he's going to be their crown jewel, and they have got the money to pay for it. They've already proved that last year, if the stories are to be believed. So I believe the money is still there. Will FSG cash in on that? Maybe. It could be the right time for a complete refresh, but again, it all comes down to the backing. What is that new manager going to get in that financial package to say, okay, here's 200 million to go out and get 4 or 5 new players to refresh the squad, plus whatever player sales you get, you're going to have that money on top. Is that going to happen? We just don't know. But looking at the previous records that we've got, I can't see it. I can't see it. But as you quite rightly said, we've ran players into the ground, and we may be paying the price for that right now because of the system that Klopp plays. It's high intensity. At the end of the day, it has a lifespan, and I think that is now coming full circle. Sadly, it's I don't know what
I
else.
want to this here from Willem as well. He said our front line seemed to lack football IQ. We had Firmino, Mane. I would be open to selling Salah, Nunez, or Diaz for realistic good offers this summer. Yeah, I mentioned about IQ with Nunez, and I noticed something last week against Atalanta in the 3-0 loss, and Matt Manaman was on the comms. And anyone that's watched Matt Manaman, he was one of the most intelligent players we've ever had at the club. He could play along the front line. He could play at Cam. He was unbelievable. He played Cam before Cam was even a thing.
Yeah.
And he noticed that, when Nunez had that chance to put onto his right foot, he came back onto his left, and it made no sense to come back onto his left. There was no space to the left, so all he had to do is open his body up and let it go onto his right, and he'd have had an easy shot to on goal. But that's a lack of footballing IQ, and Nunez is an absolute chaotic player, and he's a brilliant player, and he can cause chaos in the defence, and sometimes he has an unbelievable strike on him. But his touch of the ball and his football IQ, and sometimes his shots are just simply not good enough for a striker. They're not. And we've got to be honest with ourselves here. Is that what we want up front? And can he turn it around? Of course he can. He's still a young lad. He's still got plenty of potential. He's still got the minerals there. But that football IQ is key. And when people say, but he does get a lot of play. He does open up the play a lot elsewhere apart from the goals. You don't have to score goals. But unless you revert to Firmino, and Willem made a good point there with Firmino. His intelligence, he was the system. Roberto Firmino was the system, so you can't compare the two. And if you're not for Firmino, then you've got to be bagging goals. You've got to be winning those games, and it's so frustrating that we're going into the end of the season now, and we're talking about being out of the Europa League, being knocked out of the FA Cup by Manchester United of all teams. And now worried about not winning the league, and not even there's even talk about fucking not getting top 4 in a fucking group chat. That's what level it's come to now. But
do you lads think that? Do you think this has happened at the end of the season, but it was been overshadowed because earlier in the season we were getting results in the final seconds. The Fulham 4-3 wasn't that a big warning sign?
Yeah. Yeah, it did happen last season. Absolutely spot on. That there was the first game against Fulham, wasn't it? As well, we got a late goal last year to get a draw at last minute as well. And there were signs there, and then people just don't see the signs. It's like they watch their eyes. They watch the match behind their hands. And again, there's been signs for months that this sort of these results have been coming. We've just been getting away with it, and I've been saying. Since we come on here now, and normally Nathan comes on a Thursday, I always say, look, we got the result. It doesn't matter, problems don't matter, we got the result. It seems to be like every single week. I seem to say the same thing every week. But performance does need to change, doesn't it, Clem, for it to be sustainable?
Sorry, just picking up on a little quote here from Klopp that I'm reading on Twitter, saying that we've created 67 shots in the last 3 games. 67. That is mental. 67 shots in 3 games. And how many goals we scored?
We scored 1.
Yeah. I mean, have we left our shooting boots?
We scored 1.
Oh, 1? Yeah.
1 in the last 3 games, which was today. Yeah.
And we don't even look like scoring from a set piece. The set pieces are just wastes right now. They're just hope and pray. But look, I think the time's come for a fresh change, and obviously we wanted this season to end on a fairy tale with Klopp, and that's going to be remembered. But, I think the change, obviously something new has got to come in. There's new players, new midfield. There's players that we feel like should be playing more, like Stu said, with Harvey Elliott. Gakpo should be getting an opportunity towards the end of this season now. Jota, yes, for much as we love him, he's injured every season, right when we need him. And then obviously with the Nunez situation, there's been improvement this season, but not as much as some people want to see. And there's real concerns over finishing these chances, because if we finished a lot of these chances, we're still top of the table.
Yeah, and no one is ever scapegoating Nunez here. No one's ever scapegoating Salah. It's a team problem right now. But you still can, individually look at these players and think, come on, what are you doing? You need to be doing better, especially as a striker. Question, Darren, other than Salah, which other players would you sell? Jones, Gomez, Robbo. Again, Curtis Jones, another player that got hyped up again. And I've said it, I've been consistent about Curtis Jones for years. I think he's always going to be the squad player, a very important squad player. Yeah. I've always likened him to Nicky Butt for, in the United area. Very important squad player. But when he plays a good game, he gets man at match, everyone jumps on the bandwagon, gotta start him now. You gotta start him now, his best midfielder we've got. It's like, calm the fuck down, because this is what happens now when this is what happens when we're given the chance and he fucks up. He's had some unbelievable games in the past. I remember also the Porto one. He absolutely ran them riot in the Champions League this season. But it's not enough. And again, Diaz is another one. Diaz, again, unbelievable player, unbelievable talent, but he's not consistent enough. And when you compare him, you got to compare him to Mane, because Mane was that level before, and that's the level we expect at Liverpool Football Club. Mane's level. And is he ever going to get Mane's level? Not now.
Who's that? Diaz.
Diaz.
No, they're different players as well. So
but like, is he 27 now? So he's not got much potential to get even better. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Nunez is young, and.
Well, just off that, off Paul's question, do you think with Edwards now watching all of this, do you think this crumbling towards the end of the season is going to make him look at it and say there's going to be more changes than you would have said maybe a month ago?
I'd like to think so, mate. I'd like to think so, but I just don't trust FSG, because I've always thought that Klopp would be more ruthless if he was allowed room to be ruthless. He had to keep the likes of Milner around, or he had to keep the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita around for numbers, because he's not guaranteed to sell them for a good price to bring someone in. If he had sold them and they say, no, we ain't got the money for it, then he's left short, really short. And he was left short anyway, but left really short on numbers. And we saw it again last year with when we bought Nunez. Our first move that summer was for Tchouaméni. It was our first target. So we clearly wanted a midfielder that summer. Tchouaméni was our first target. We went for him, chose Real Madrid, fair enough. We went then for Nunez because people say, Klopp's fault, he spent it all on Nunez. We had to get Nunez, we had to get a striker. We lost 3 forwards, and people don't realise that. We lost Mane, Origi and Take, and then we were to lose Firmino then the season after. But it seems to be ultimatums. We had to get Nunez or a midfielder. Why can't we get both? This is what my fucking problem is with FSG. Why can we not afford to get both? And then the reports then come out from FSG, and the FSG puppets underneath them, the little journalists that work at Liverpool. We didn't want a midfield. We didn't want that was the narrative that we're running. We didn't need a midfield. But why did we go for Tchouaméni to start the season? That was the narrative. And when Anfield Rap did an interview with Klopp, and he says, "Why do we need a midfield for? Look at my midfield. We've got 7 midfielders, 8 midfielders." And they laughed along, didn't they? They laughed into one. They laughed with him, and I'm thinking, have you ever fucking kicked a football before? That midfield is not fucking good enough. And I saw it way before, and I got into arguments last season. Before you guys were in the chat, I got into arguments with plenty of people. And then halfway through the season, I realised I was right. That midfield wasn't good enough. And this should have been addressed in the summer. But because we bought Nunez, we probably spent the budget on Nunez. It shouldn't be a budget for that anyway. We should have addressed both situations. And this is why I worry whoever comes in, because we've won a Premier League, we've won the Champions League, we've won an FA Cup and 2 Carabao Cups under probably our greatest manager we've seen since Shankly Paisley. What's going to happen under someone that's not as good as him? That's my worry. I don't know about you guys, Reece. What about you?
I'm quite excited. Like I've said before, I'm not worried, because I'm more looking at the ruthless aspect from Edwards, and I'm also looking at whichever manager comes in, as much as I got love for Klopp and I appreciate what Klopp's done for us. I get what you mean with the FSG stuff as well, but I don't think Klopp's completely innocent. I think there's been too much sentiment there, too much favourites as well. When guys are not playing well, they still play, and then certain things that other players are doing well. When the favourites are available, they come straight back into the team and stuff like that. So it could, obviously, I can't see the future, but I'm more looking at the pieces they've got in place, and then they just need the manager. I'm not saying we're necessarily just going to go and win the league and go and win everything straight away, but I just think if we're more ruthless and keep people on their toes, like how Guardiola said, you got to kind of keep it fresh, got to let players kind of know that if you have one or two bad performances, that someone else is going to come in and take your place. I think we'll be good, but it is disappointing for the Klopp era, the way it's going at the minute, that we didn't end things on a high.
Stu, what for the rest of the season now? Do we bounce back? Because it's so important to bounce back now and finish our third at high. Or is it going to peter out? And are we in trouble for top four?
No, we'll get top four.
I don't think we are. The fact that conversation has come up just shows you where we are.
That's very, that's too reactionary.
It is way too much.
But,
top 4
But I don't know. I can see us losing against Fulham. The only way I don't see us losing is if he freshens the team up and he drops some players, certain players like Salah, Diaz. And you for me, I would put someone in like Dan. You need to put some more of the young players back in, because they'll show hunger, they'll show passion, fight. If he picks the similar type of team, then it's just going to be the same missing chances for me. But if you put a mixture in, some players who are actually hungry, going to seize the opportunity, then we can get a result.
Stu, do we beat Fulham then? I do think that's, this could be the season ender. Clem, what do you think, mate?
Look, man, I think we do need to change the squad a little bit in terms of the starting 11, make some changes, finish hopefully with a head of steam, guys can bang a few goals in, I think Arsenal will drop a lot of points, to be honest. I think they're really going through the mud right now too. And look, we need to still put the pressure on City, because you just never know, they could be susceptible to a loss or a couple of draws, and we just need to keep going. But what I want to see is the effort, the passion. Remember that night on the Carabao Cup when we had to play these kids because we had no other choice. But look at the urgency they played with McConnell, Clark. They played like their spots were in jeopardy. But It's unfortunate that the older players aren't playing that way. They need to play kind of with that healthy scaredness, because no one's spot should be safe. That's just the way it is on an elite team like Liverpool. They shouldn't be playing every week like that with no changes, and we've seen this for a while now, and we need to give guys that are deserving of their spot. Otherwise they'll want to leave. If he's one of the best informed players and he's not playing, if Elliott, don't you think that's going to hurt that player's morale?
It really is. I think it is. Stu, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with with all sentiments right across the board. For the last 6 games of the season, there really is no excuses now. There's no hiding. The title is still there to be won. Will Arsenal and City drop points? Maybe, but we still have the job to do, and we're more than capable of doing it. But we have to put the effort in, and the team needs to be changed around a little bit. Like Clem said, when the youngsters came in, they showed that hunger, they showed that desire, like their places were on the line. And obviously the kids, they understand that they're only coming in for a bit part and the other players are going to come back in. But perhaps that's part of the problem. You got the likes of Szoboszlai and Jones coming back into the side thinking, all right, we can maybe just coast it. I'm not saying they think that, but maybe perhaps something in the back of their minds, like psychologically. I don't know.
They know they're undroppable sort of thing. They know that
kind of, yeah.
Yeah. It's more complacency, isn't it? Really, after that.
Yeah, and that word sums it up. I see a lot of complacency in the side. Not just fatigue and tiredness, but not enough desire and way too much complacency from some of the players in the team. Where, as I say, I've already picked him up. Elliott for me is a starter now for the rest of the season. 6 games of the season, he starts every one unless he gets injured or sent off. As far as I'm concerned, he starts. Salah, I would still start him. He needs to start scoring. Nunez, I wouldn't start again. I'll be starting Jota up front. And Gakpo, I'll be starting ahead of Diaz on that left-hand side. Gakpo needs to start on that left-hand side because, okay, yeah, I've had my digs at Gakpo this season where his form has dropped.
Rightly so, though. Rightly so.
Yeah.
Digs at the point. Yeah.
But the last 3 games that he's played, he's actually been our best player. He's been the one that showed the most desire and wanting to get things going. Whereas for the last, 20, 25 minutes of tonight's game, everything was just going backwards and forwards across the back line.
Yeah.
I was screaming at the TV about, like, what are you doing? You got 2 more goals to get and you're just coasting it. And
playing like we were winning, yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't make any sense.
Calvin here says, what's happened, lads? Back into your caves now. Imagine not being able to win the Europa League. You'll walk alone, it seems. Well, Calvin, I did try to go back to my cave, but they were full of Chelsea fans already in there. So I sort of decided to stay out for a little bit. Let's just accept that Real and City will be best because they want to be Liverpool just picking up the crumbs. It's actually very sad how football works. Someone made a good point up here. Where was it now? Paul said here, we have a lot of good midfield players, but we don't have any game changers like Bellingham, Wirtz, Musiala.
Yep.
And this is where transfers come in. If you want the big game-changing guys, Bellingham, who's right there on our doorstep, just right there, he was literally that close to join us, you fucking pay up.
Yep.
A big difference between title-winning sides and not title-winning sides.
Could you imagine Bellingham on our side? The form that he's been in this season. Could you imagine Bellingham in our side this season?
But we wouldn't have used him that way. Remember, he's kind of playing like a striker. We wouldn't have used him that way. So.
But even I think would have played him like where Soboslai is right now, and sort of like where he pushes up into like a number 10 sort of role, but not a number 10 role, if that makes sense. But it's just amazing what money can buy, isn't it? If you just put your money down, sometimes you got to bite the bullet. I've said it so many times. Sometimes you got to bite the bullet. Every single player is overpriced in the world right now. If you want to get the talent, though, you've got to pay it. It's not like we don't have it. It's not like we're skint. We act like we're skint, but we're not really.
If we look at where it's gone wrong, though, because we have been good this season, so the players are not rubbish. But like what Stu said, he said we've missed. Klopp said the last 3 games, 67 chances. It's a lack of clinicalness from the strikers. Because for most of the season, we've been getting over the line. Even if we ain't been necessarily battering teams, we were doing it. Whereas
Calvin's got a lot to plan. Calvin's got a lot of boxes stored up for you there, Reece. He'll land some for you.
Calvin needs to show his face and take away the Chelsea badge as his picture.
As you mentioned, Bellingham, like, not to look too far ahead, lads, but let's assume Champions League next season, right? Imagine if we go in with a similar squad, and after seeing Arsenal and City bow out, how do you think we would fare in a Champions League next season?
That's a fair point.
Yeah, against that midfield, against that Real Madrid midfield, and if Real Madrid get Mbappe, it's gonna be a long day. But this is where we need to, again, in the transfer window, if we need to be brutal. We need to be absolutely brutal. If people are pulling up trees, you get rid, and we're bringing in people that can pull up trees, and that's the sheer truth of it all. And that's how the top teams stay top. I'm not saying go out there and spend 200, 300 million, like some people think they want, but go out there and make sure the new manager gets what he needs to go again, because Klopp has never got all the tools to go again every single summer. He seems to be just outperforming with the players he's got.
I think there'll be a lot of sales, and some of that money should be used, like you said. We could just go through a few guys. I think Carvalho could get sold. Simicast probably definitely get sold. Possibly Diaz. I mean,
Kelleher seems to be gone. I don't think we're going to step in Kelleher's way right now. We can get some good money for him.
I think he deserves the chance as well. He deserves to be a number 1 somewhere.
Just going for the last bits before I get a tissue for the fake Scousers. He's got a lot of tissues as good old Callum. He's been using them a lot this season himself. Which game-changing players out there, though? Bellingham, Wirtz, and Martial. That's the point, though, Paul. when there is game changers out there, we don't seem to do hard enough to try and get them. Musiala's possibly there if we want to get him. Verts possibly, but it all depends on the new manager as well and what formation he wants to play. We don't know who we've got as a new manager yet. David Ornstein's come out today and said there's no nailed on that we're going to get Amarin either, and he may not be first choice. We don't have a first choice, so it's just all up in the air, and it needs sorting out. And people, I've had some message me the other day saying, "Do you think we'll get Amarin? Do you think he's done?" I said, "I can't trust FSG getting it done because at the end of the day, if we've got a fucking a release clause to play, then I don't trust them to do it."
Apparently, he's got demands in terms of the squad. He's like, I need a stronger defensive midfielder, is what I read, and probably looking at some other things as well.
That's fair, though.
Hey,
That's fair.
you're watching my videos because I did a defensive midfielder at the start of the season. That was the biggest mistake we've made this season. That we didn't bring a proper defensive midfielder in. But what do I know? Anyway, guys, thank you for joining tonight. We do apologise. It is a poor turnout tonight. I hope we put more effort into this stream than what we saw on the pitch tonight. It seems to be a bit more energetic than what I saw on the pitch tonight. Big game of the weekend against Fulham, must win, and if we don't win, potentially season over. Thank you, Clem. Thank you, Reese. Thank you, Stu. Liverpool out of the Europa League, and the season is hanging by a thread.